Hey there, guys. So let's have a little more conversation about this EV pickup truck, right? So the Chevy Silverado EV. There hasn't been a whole lot of additional information put out there about the truck. I guess based upon what Chevy has told us, we're now about 6 months away from production on that truck. So you would think that at some point very soon that they would start releasing some details on this thing. We have seen photos, they're all over the internet, of the test mules out being driven on public roadways. So I guess that's a new development. Usually when an automaker is about to bring a new vehicle to market, once they get to that stage where they're taking them out on the street to test them in the real world, usually that means that we're getting really close to the point where they will start to distribute a few near production models to reviewers to show to the world. So I would say that probably within the next couple of months, probably, later in August, maybe September, we'll probably see Chevy take a few of those trucks and kind of put them out there for some of the bigger YouTube outlets and the magazines and all the professional reviewers to get their hands on. So I'd say we're getting pretty close to really seeing this thing with our own eyes. Like I said, the near production version. But here's the thing. The F-150 Lightning obviously is already on the market. Even the dealerships around here in Kentucky, they've all got them now. I saw one in person just a few days ago, actually. So that truck's out there on the road, and if we're being honest, the Chevy offering is not going to be that much different. I mean, they may be doing their their structure of their battery pack a little differently or whatever the case might be. But the technology for these electric vehicles, it is what it is right now, right? So, the Rivian, the F-150 Lightning, the upcoming Silverado EV, in terms of, the capacity of the battery packs, the energy density of the battery packs, the way that they use the electric motors, they're all pretty similar. I mean, we don't know for sure yet. Chevy hasn't announced anything yet officially, but probably the work truck $40,000 trim level, the one that I was on the reservation list for, the one that most people are kind of interested in, that one's probably going to have a battery pack of somewhere around 250 miles of range. It's going to be pretty similar to what Ford has done. Now Chevy has promised us 400 miles of range, but that's on the RST, which is over $100,000. And that battery pack is going to be optional, they say, on the WT, but the price on it is going to be thousands of dollars more to get that extended range battery pack. So the $40,000 model that they're advertising, you're probably going to be looking at about 250 miles of range. So here's the problem. The reviews that we've seen on the F-150 Lightning when it comes to hauling and especially towing have not been very glowing reviews. TFL, one of my favorite channels, I'm sure you guys have seen them too, they've been doing a lot of towing with the F-150 Lightning, and they've got the extended range battery pack, okay? So they've got that 300-mile range battery pack, and one video where they were towing, I think they got about 80 miles, and then they had to start looking for a charger. Okay, so, when you're talking sub 100-mile trips between charges, that's just, at that point, it's just not practical. That's just not usable anymore. I mean, you think about the trips that my son and I take to the land between the lakes. We take these ATVs and our camping gear, and we load up the enclosed trailer. It's 250 miles one way. It takes 4 hours to get from here to there with a gasoline truck. Well, if we had an F-150 Lightning and we were towing with it, that 4-hour trip suddenly becomes a multi-hour trip, probably a couple of days trip, because you're talking a little over an hour and then you have to stop and charge, you know, and the charging is taking a long time on that truck because of that huge battery pack. So I guess the point that I'm getting to here is the Chevy Silverado EV is not going to be that much different. I mean, it's just really not. You're probably looking at about 80 miles of range with a big trailer behind it, and that's just not practical. And I was really hoping for more. I was really hoping that it would do better than that. You know, a half-ton diesel truck, 3-liter EcoDiesel, like I had in the Ram, the 3-liter Duramax, you know, whatever the case might be, a half-ton diesel truck, typically they lose 60 to 65% of their efficiency when you hook a pretty sizable trailer to them. We've seen that over and over again in reviews, and that's also been my personal experience. A gasoline half-ton full-size truck, usually you're in that 45 to 50% range, you know, MPG loss when you put a big trailer behind it. So that's fairly substantial right there, but it's doable. You know, we can do it mainly because you can fill the truck back up again in 5 minutes, right? But when you're talking going from 300 miles of range on an electric truck to 80 miles when you put a trailer behind that truck, that is a huge loss of efficiency. I mean, that's just complete game changer there. And, you know, that's just not going to work out for me. And I bet that's not going to work out for most guys. The only people I know of who would be able to put up with that are your older retired folks who have all the time in the world and they can plan out a trip. You know, if you're going to take an RV and tow it with one of those trucks and go somewhere of distance, you could plan your trip out so that you know, okay, we have to stop and charge here, and then we got to stop and charge there, and while we're charging, we can go do this or that. You know, just make charging a part of your trip. I mean, you could do that if you were retired and didn't have anything else to do, but most people who have families and you're going camping or you're going out to the lake with a boat, maybe you're going to the lake that's 3 or 4 hours away, that's just not going to work out. 80 miles of range just doesn't work. And so bottom line here is I'm really having second thoughts about this Chevy Silverado EV. You know, around town, my daily commute to work or church or Walmart or to the school to pick up my son, that would be fine. It would be totally fine. I could charge the truck up here at home one night a week and drive it all week, and it would be fine. But when we load up to go somewhere, camping and all of that, it's just not going to work. So actually, I have already canceled my reservation for that truck. I've got my $100 reservation back. I took my name off the list because I just don't want to deal with all that. I mean, it's a cool idea, and it could potentially save me a ton of fuel money, like I said, throughout the week on my daily commute. And I would really like to just try out an electric truck and show you guys in the real world how it works out around a property like this or whatever. But it's just the technology just isn't quite there yet. We need to get more range, and we need to really work on the speed of charging. You've got to be able to charge up an electric truck in less than a half hour to make it a viable option. You know, to make it a viable competitor to the ICE trucks that we've had for over 100 years now. You've got to be able to charge them up faster. And we'll get there. I mean, technology will eventually get there, but it's probably going to be a while. I mean, it might be another 5 or 10 years, you know? And so anyway, I just don't want to deal with all that right now. I've got too much to do around here, and I don't want to deal with that low amount of range when I'm working the truck. So long story short, that puts me back at square one because, you know, the Nissan Frontier, I told you guys I did a really short-term lease on that, 20,000 mile lease. I've already used up 3,000 or 4,000 of those. So in a not so distant future, I'm going to have to decide what to do with that truck. And, you know, I'm already missing the space of the full-size truck. You know, the Frontier will do anything I need it to do. You know, it'll pull the types of trailers that I need to pull. It's got really awesome features. It's a cool looking truck. I mean, it's great. But, you know, with a family, that space especially in the back row, like I've mentioned before, that's where you really miss the full-size trucks, is the space inside for people. So I'm kind of convinced that I really need to go back to a full-size truck and stay there. And so now I'm like, okay, so what do I do? You know, I don't want a miserably inefficient truck like the Toyota Tundra anymore, which, by the way, also was a great truck, but it just drank fuel like crazy. And of course, there's the cat right on cue. But yeah, I don't want a miserably inefficient truck. So I need something that's full size, crew cab, 4x4, fuel efficient, or reasonably so anyhow. And something that I like. You know, I want to drive a truck that I like too. And so anyway, the Nissan Titan XD that you saw in the previous video, it's not coming home with me, so don't get any ideas. But I'm out there kind of, you know, looking around and thinking about what's going to be next here. But anyway, the main point is the EV trucks for guys who are going to tow, I don't think it's going to work out. So I had high hopes for it, but at the end of the day, we have to be realistic and we have to be practical, right? Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. And as always, thanks for watching. I got some work to do.